the rise of authoritarian powers that are trying to push the limits of the rules-based order, challenge in every function that they can, try and make might right once again.
July 12th, 2023. Hello, everybody. My name is Marcel Ernie, and this is Ernie Racing News. I'm about to show you some very cringe-worthy Justin fascist Trudeau, at the NATO Summit or NATO Convention, and where he explains, oh yeah, we're putting whatever, over 2,200 new troops, Canadian troops in on the border of the war on the eastern flank of Latvia, and committing more billions of dollars to NATO's proxy war, their collectivism war against Russia. And now Russia, ironically, it's the opposite of collectivism. It's individualism, supporting the people, versus the collective West G7 countries attacking them because they are the fascists. They are the collectivism. The majority controls the minority and puts them in prison or whatever. That's the forms of fascism, communism, from my understanding. So anyways, let's watch Justin Trudeau. He literally, when they ask him about, oh, what are you doing, and with NATO, and it's so great, and he starts to talk about himself in an outward pause. He's talking about authoritative governments and how we need to, protect our democracies. And it's so funny because he's talking like about himself in the external to talk about, but saying it's about Russia or whatever. Oh, unbelievable, guys. So let's just head to it.
You just arrived to Vilnius from Riga, where you made a historic announcement about an additional 2,200 Canadian forces that will be in Latvia, a 2.6 billion Canadian dollar contribution. So this obviously has huge implications for Canada's role along the eastern flank, but the regional defense plans also have implications for Canada in the high north and the North Atlantic, a huge area of protection for Canada. Help us understand what these regional defense plans will mean for Canada, and how do you as Prime Minister, convey this to your citizens, how important this is to their security?
Well, I think one of the things that our citizens across all our countries are understanding right now is the world is changing, and not necessarily in reassuring ways.
The world is changing and not in reassuring ways, thanks to you and your assholes, dude. Oh my God. Yeah, sorry. Back to the show.
The aggressive posture, not just of Russia in its invasion of Ukraine, but the rise of authoritarian powers that are trying to push the limits of the rules-based order, challenge in every function that they can.
Challenge in every capacity possible. It's just like all the bills the Liberal NDP are pushing through, like, oh, let's censor the internet, let's censor the news, let's censor free speech. I mean, they're doing everything possible. Let's mandate vaccines. Let's forget about bodily autonomy. Let's forget about the Nuremberg Code. Let's forget about the Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Let's forget about the Human Rights Act. Let's push oligarchs to control us through the WHO and the UN and the EU, and and let's create a banking crisis on purpose. Let's make our money valueless. Let's make it impossible for people to buy homes. Let's make everybody in slavery to debt. Sorry, back to it.
Try and make might right once again means we have to be absolutely unequivocal in standing up for them. And
I like how he's kind of speaking from the freedom fighter perspective here. It's like, well, he's talking about us, guys. We need to stand up. We need to stand up for the rights of everybody. Our Human Rights Act, our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, for the whole world, just like Christine Anderson is doing. So thank you, Justin. Yes, we will stand up against you and your
bringing our citizens along. There's no question that in Canada, like everywhere, inflation's a challenge, housing prices are a challenge, labor shortages are a challenge, the hangovers from the pandemic, worries about climate change. There's so many things going on.
There is a lot of things going on because of you and your cronies. the climate change, the housing crisis, the inflation, it's all instigated by you and your oligarch cronies at the WEF, etc.
That additioning to this geopolitical instability as something we also have to step up and spend on requires explaining, but not that much explaining.
No, not too much explaining needed. No reason for an open debate. No reason for a town hall meeting. No reason for you to stand up and ask or answer questions of the citizens. No, none of that's necessary, guys, because we run a dictatorship, totalitarian regime, right?
Canadians understand deeply how if Russia is successful in redrawing lines on a map in Ukraine, then everything else around the world becomes more dangerous and more destabilized. And people are now fully convinced that what happens on the other side of the world does have an impact on them. So Canadians have been extremely supportive of the close to $8 billion that we've invested.
We Canadians have been extremely supportive. You mean we've been paying for that $8 billion? That's our money. But we don't support you spending our money on your proxy war of the USA and NATO, G7 versus Russia, and redrawing the lines of the map. Remember when this special operation all started, the people of Donbass, they asked for free elections. They asked to be segregated, to be separated from Ukraine, who was bombing them for the past decade, murdering the citizens of Donbass who voted to separate from and become an independent state or nation because they are being freaking genocide on them by Ukraine. So aren't we just all required to help these people out of genocide of Ukraine? No, right? And then we're talking about history here. What about all the proxy wars? Well, I think the USA, they went in and invaded Iraq on a false flag. That has been proven. There was no actual missiles or anything in Iraq besides property, money, and oil, right? And what about Syria? What about Afghanistan? You know, did Canada and everybody, the citizens, vote for these wars, right? No.
Military, financial, and humanitarian support to Ukraine over the past short while. And they're also very enthusiastic about what I was announcing with Christianis yesterday, which, as you say, is a doubling of the Canadian contingent in Latvia as we move towards brigade side, along with others, because holding and strengthening NATO's eastern flank against Russia is unbelievably important.
Absolutely. That's all we care about, is strengthening the eastern border in Latvia in the Ukraine against Russia. No, we're not concerned about what's happening in Canada at all with our value, our purchasing power being dropped in half, all our savings being cut in half and continuing on at another 10% every year or more. No, we're not concerned with the housing crisis. No, we're not concerned about the price of food. No, we're not concerned about people, the homeless population, the mental disorders rising, the alcoholism, the drug use being fed. No, we're not concerned about a lot of things. No, not at all. Thank you very much, Ernie Racing News.